He swung his hand hard across her face in the middle of a crowded diner parking lot. Under the full blaze of the noon sun, Mira hit the ground. People froze. A heavy chair scraped back. A pair of boots stepped into the sunlight. A man with a battered Hell's Angels patch walked straight toward the attacker, never breaking eye contact. He stopped inches from the man's face and said, "You like hitting women? In the next 3 minutes, this entire street will explode into a full-on brawl, a weapons cover-up, and a fight that no one thought one man could survive. If you want justice, adrenaline, and stories that hit like a punch, subscribe to Heart Tales right now. Let's check in. 1 for first-time viewer, 2 if you've seen a few, 3 if you never miss." The slap in broad daylight. The midday sun hung mercilessly over Silver Creek, turning the asphalt outside Beatrice's diner into a shimmering sheet of heat. Everything was quiet, lazy, almost sleepy, until a sharp crack sliced through the stillness like a whip. Mira Lane stumbled backward, one hand pressed to her cheek, her breath hitching from the shock. Travis Morrow towered over her, chest heaving, eyes burning with the kind of anger that made bystanders freeze where they stood. The sunlight hit the wolf tattoo on his neck, sharpening its snarl. "You think you can walk away from me?" Travis barked, voice echoing across the parking lot. Mira swallowed hard. Her cheek was already swelling, the sting radiating across her skin. Behind her, the windows of the diner filled with startled faces, customers standing up, peering out, but not stepping forward. No one wanted trouble with Travis Morrow, especially not under the bright sun where nobody could pretend they didn't see. The diner door burst open. "Mira!" Holly Dean shouted, her voice raw. "Travis, stop! What the hell are you doing? It's the middle of the day!" Travis turned his glare on Holly, jaw clenching. "And what, you gonna call the cops? They won't touch me. Nobody in this town will—" Holly hesitated. Because he wasn't wrong. Then, from inside the diner, came the sound of a coffee mug being set down. Hard. A chair scraped back, metal legs dragging a long cold note across the floor. A presence shifted. Someone stood up, and the atmosphere changed. A man stepped into view, sunlight spilling through the doorway behind him, outlining the heavy leather jacket, the worn patches, the unmistakable emblem on the chest. Hell's Angels. Ronan Creed walked out of the diner like a storm that had been waiting all morning to break. His boots struck the ground with deliberate weight. Tattoos curled down both arms, disappearing beneath fingerless gloves. But it was his eyes, steady, unblinking, carved from something colder than shade, that made Holly's breath catch in her throat. Travis's confidence faltered for half a second. Ronan didn't rush, didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. He stopped right in front of Travis, close enough that the heat radiating off the pavement seemed to pulse between them. Travis snarled, forcing himself to hold his ground. "You got a staring problem?" Ronan tilted his head slightly, studying him the way a surgeon studies a wound. Then, in a voice low enough that only Mira, Holly, and Travis could hear, he said, "You like hitting women?" A hush fell over the entire parking lot. Mira froze. Holly stopped breathing. Even the cicadas seemed to go quiet in the thick summer heat. Ronan's gaze hardened. "Good," he murmured. "Then let's see you try hitting someone who hits back." Travis's smirk twitched, but it didn't disappear. He puffed his chest up again, glancing sideways as if expecting the crowd to back him, to validate him, to embolden him. They didn't. Every pair of eyes watching from the diner windows had shifted to Ronan. Ronan Creed didn't move, didn't blink. He just stood there under the midday sun, calm in a way that looked dangerously unnatural, like the air right before a lightning strike. Travis jabbed a finger into Ronan's chest. "Back off. This isn't your business." Ronan's gaze dropped to the finger, slow, controlled, as if inspecting a bug that had landed on him. Then his eyes rose again. "Move your hand," Ronan said, quiet even, but the tone carried weight that made Holly's spine shiver. Travis huffed out a laugh. "And if I don't?" Ronan didn't answer immediately. He simply stepped forward, closing the distance another inch, forcing Travis to lean back. The shadow cast by Ronan swallowed half of Travis's face. Mira, breathing shallow, whispered, "Please, don't." But it was too late. Travis shoved Ronan in the shoulder, hard. A collective gasp rose from the diner. Ronan didn't stumble, didn't sway, didn't even blink. Instead, he inhaled once, like he had been waiting for this exact moment. "Wrong choice," he said, and then, in a blur of motion, Ronan's hand shot up, gripping Travis's wrist so fast the slap of skin against skin echoed. He twisted sharply, forcing Travis's arm down, bending it backward with surgical precision. Travis yelped, dropping to a knee as the pressure increased. "Let go! Damn it, let me go!" Ronan leaned down, voice as cold as steel. "First rule, men who hit women don't get to use these hands freely." He tightened the hold just enough to make Travis groan. Holly covered her mouth. Mira stared, wide-eyed, torn between fear and relief. Travis struggled, teeth gritted. You think you can touch me? You know who I ride with." Ronan finally released his arm. Travis staggered to his feet, holding his wrist. "That's right," he spat, stepping back. "The Wolves, Grave Wolves MC, we own this town." Ronan's expression didn't change. Not even a flicker. "That patch on your neck," he said, pointing at the wolf tattoo, "means nothing to me." Travis barked out a shaky laugh. "You should be afraid." Ronan took one step closer. The temperature seemed to spike. "I don't do fear," Ronan said. "I do consequences." Travis's bravado faltered again. Sweat beaded along his temple despite the dry heat. Then, a sound. The distant rumble of engines. 3 motorcycles turned into the street, sunlight flashing off chrome, tires growling against the pavement. Travis's lips curled in triumph. "My boys are here." The diner grew still. Mira's pulse jumped. Holly stumbled back a step. Ronan, he cracked his neck, once to the left, slow and unbothered. "Oh good," he murmured. "I was hoping they'd show," and he stepped forward into the sunlight. As the wolves arrived, the wolves stepped into the sunlight. The motorcycles thundered to a halt, sunlight glinting off chrome exhausts and black helmets. 3 Grave Wolves bikers swung off their bikes, boots hitting the ground in heavy unison. The leader, a thick-jawed brute named Cutter Briggs, pulled off his helmet, revealing a buzz cut and a permanent scowl etched across his sunburnt face. His arms were covered in snarling wolf tattoos, each fang inked with almost obsessive detail. He spotted Travis clutching his wrist. "What the hell happened?" Cutter demanded. Travis jabbed a trembling finger at Ronan. "He attacked me, out of nowhere." Ronan tilted his head, unimpressed. "You laid your hands on a woman," he said. "I corrected the mistake." Cutter's nostrils flared. "You one of those angels, huh? Thought you guys stayed out west." Ronan shrugged. "Sun was nice today." It was the kind of reply that wasn't meant to provoke, yet somehow did. Cutter stepped forward, cracking his knuckles so loudly the diner windows seemed to vibrate. "You've got 2 seconds to walk away, Angel." Ronan didn't move, didn't blink. Just stated, calmly, not while he's still breathing in her direction. Mira's pulse quickened. Holly grabbed her hand without looking away from Ronan, like witnessing something both terrifying and strangely reassuring. Cutter glanced at Travis's swelling wrist. "You can't deal with one woman, but you want me to clean up your mess?" Cutter growled. Travis bristled. She saw something she wasn't supposed to. Ronan's eyes narrowed. And what exactly was that? Travis froze. Cutter shot him a glare that said, "Shut up." Too late. Ronan caught it. The hesitation, the fear, the slip. "You boys hiding something?" he asked. Cutter smirked. "Nothing for you to worry about." Ronan took a step closer, boots grinding against the hot gravel. "See, now I'm very worried." Cutter exhaled through his nose, frustrated. "You're gonna regret sticking your nose into Wolves' business." Ronan motioned toward Mira without turning his head. "Get inside, both of you," he ordered Holly and Mira. Holly tugged Mira's arm. "Come on." But Mira shook her head weakly, voice trembling. "He'll kill him." Ronan heard her, and for the first time he spoke gently. quiet enough only Mira could hear, "I won't die today." Then louder, to Cutter, "Here's how this goes. You walk away, you take him with you, and we pretend this never happened." Cutter blinked, then burst out laughing, loud, barking, humorless. "You think we take orders from you?" Ronan rolled his shoulders. "No, but you should have taken the offer." The temperature seemed to drop despite the blazing sun as the wolves fanned out, forming a loose semicircle. Mira's breath caught. Holly pulled her closer to the diner entrance. Travis yelled, "Break him!" The wolves surged, and Ronan Creed stepped straight into the charge, consequences under the sun. The first wolf lunged, swinging wide with a chain wrapped around his fist. The metal glinted under the sun, bright, deadly. Ronan slipped under the swing like he'd been expecting it for an hour. His elbow drove upward. Crack! The biker's jaw snapped sideways, his body collapsing into the gravel with a spray of dust. The second wolf didn't hesitate. He charged with a shoulder tackle that would have flattened most men. Ronan planted his feet. They collided. The sound was like a car door slamming shut. The biker recoiled, stunned at the immovable force he had just rammed into. Ronan caught his vest, twisted, and hurled him into the front bumper of a parked truck. The man slumped over the hood, wheezing. Cutter Briggs cursed, "What are you idiots doing? Take him down!" Travis backed away, panic bleeding into his face. That wasn't how fights with Ronan Creed were supposed to go. The man didn't fight like a biker. He fought like he'd been trained in places with no rules. The third wolf circled behind Ronan. Mira screamed, "Behind you!" Ronan pivoted exactly as the biker swung a tire iron at his ribs. Instead of dodging, Ronan stepped into the swing, catching the biker's wrist mid-arc, absorbing the force and leaving the man stunned that someone could block raw steel with one hand. "You pack hunters," Ronan murmured, tightening his grip. "Always fall apart when you're alone." He ripped the tire iron from the biker's hands and tossed it across the lot, sending it skidding under a parked car. Then he slammed the heel of his hand into the man's sternum. The wolf crumpled, gasping for air. Dust hung in the heat, 3 wolves down. Ronan hadn't even broken a sweat. Cutter's scowl twisted into something darker, fear wrapped in pride. "You just made a mistake you can't walk away from, Angel." Ronan wiped a fleck of dust from his knuckles. "No, you made it when you laid a hand on her." Cutter growled and reached behind his back. Mira froze. Holly's nails dug into her arm. He pulled out, not a gun, but a radio. He pressed the button, back up. "Now." A crackle answered him. "Then, on our way." Ronan's jaw flexed. Travis smirked again, confidence returning with the promise of reinforcements. "You're done, Creed. The whole pack's coming." Ronan didn't look intimidated. He didn't even look surprised. "Good," he said. "I like it fair." Cutter spat at his feet. "You have no idea what she saw this morning," he sneered, jerking his chin toward Mira. "We were supposed to clean that up." Mira's stomach twisted. Holly whispered, "What did you see?" Ronan heard every word. His gaze sharpened. "What did you make her see?" Ronan asked Cutter, stepping closer. Cutter only smiled. That was when Ronan knew. This wasn't random. This wasn't T-jealousy. This wasn't a personal dispute. Mira Lane was a target. The distant roar of dozens of motorcycles began to roll through the valley, like thunder. Holly's breath hitched. Mira's hands shook. Even Travis stepped back. But Ronan Creed, he turned toward the approaching sound, cracked his neck slowly, and whispered, "Let them come." What Mira saw that morning. The rising thunder of incoming motorcycles rolled through Silver Creek, vibrating off storefront windows and rattling the sun-bleached signs along Main Street. But inside Mira's mind, another sound echoed louder. A memory she had tried all morning to bury. Ronan glanced back at her. "What did you see?" Mira swallowed hard, fingers trembling. Holly squeezed her hand, urging her to speak, but words stuck in Mira's throat like gravel. The truth wasn't simple, and it hadn't begun in the diner. It started 4 hours earlier, beneath the same relentless daylight. 4 hours earlier, 8:17 am. Mira Lane walked across the abandoned construction site on the south edge of town, holding a clipboard and swatting at dust kicked up by the morning breeze. She worked part-time for the city planning office, doing site checks and documenting violations. Nothing dangerous, nothing dramatic, at least until that morning. She reached the far corner of the site and froze. 3 men, wolves unmistakable with their jackets, were unloading long black crates from the back of a matte grey truck. The crates weren't construction materials. She knew that instantly. They were weapons cases, and the men weren't trying to hide it. In broad daylight, they cracked open one of the crates. Mira's breath hitched. Inside were rifles, military-grade, matte black, still coated in factory oil. Not something a biker gang should have access to, not something that should be anywhere near Silver Creek. Her first instinct was to walk away quietly, but then one of the wolves lifted a satellite phone. "Tell Briggs the shipment's ready. He'll clear the buyer at noon. Buyer, noon." The words sank into her like ice water. She snapped a single photo with her phone without thinking. The shutter sound was so quiet a squirrel wouldn't notice, but the wolves heard. All 3 heads jerked toward her. "Hey!" one barked. Mira gasped and ran. She didn't think, didn't look back. Gravel slid under her shoes as she sprinted to her car, fumbling with the keys. The engine sputtered once, twice, then roared to life. Tires screeched as she flew out of the lot, heart hammering against her ribs. In her rearview mirror she saw them, 2 bikes, engines firing, chasing. Mira weaved through traffic, clutching the wheel with both hands. She turned sharply into town, and by some miracle or blind luck, lost them near the bakery on Linden Street. She pulled into Beatrice's diner shaking, telling herself she'd call the sheriff as soon as she calmed down. But then Travis walked in, and everything spiraled. Back in the present, the roar of wolves' motorcycles filled the street, growing louder. Ronan's eyes sharpened. All this over one woman taking a picture? Mira shook her head. It wasn't just a picture. They were making a weapons deal. At noon. Ronan stiffened. His jaw clenched. Noon. That meant now, Holly whispered. "Ronan, they're coming for her, aren't they?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The wolves were almost here, and Mira Lane was the only witness left alive. The photo that could get her killed. The wolves' engines grew louder, rising from a distant rumble to a rolling storm that vibrated through the pavement beneath their feet. Sunlight flashed off the rows of chrome as the pack crested the hill into town. More bikes than Mira had ever seen in one place. Holly pulled Mira behind her, voice trembling. "Ronan, what do they want to do to her?" Ronan didn't turn around. His eyes stayed locked on the road, tracking the position of each approaching bike with the calm precision of someone who'd assessed enemy formations before. "They're not here to talk," he said. "They're here to erase a witness." Mira felt her stomach drop, because she knew Ronan was right. The photo in her phone wasn't just a picture, it was evidence. Evidence that could destroy the wolves' entire pipeline. Evidence that tied them to illegal weapons trafficking. Evidence that could put them away for years. Cutter Briggs stepped forward, sneering as the first wave of wolves lined up behind him. "You really screwed up, sweetheart," Cutter called out. "We were supposed to move this shipment quietly. Buyer was ready. Now, everything's on hold because you got curious." Mira swallowed, voice barely audible. "I didn't mean to see anything." Cutter laughed. "That's the problem. You did." Ronan shifted his stance just slightly, enough that only someone studying him would notice. Feet planted, shoulders squared. "Ready?" Travis stepped forward, emboldened now that the pack had arrived. "She's got a photo on her phone," he said quickly. Too quickly. She took a shot of the guns. The wolves murmured among themselves. Ronan's jaw tightened. So it was true. This wasn't just a beating gone too far. This was business. Illegal business. And Mira Lane had accidentally stepped right on top of it. Cutter raised a hand, silencing the group. "Simple solution," he said, pointing at Mira. "Hand her over." Holly gasped. Mira's breath hitched. Ronan didn't move, not even a twitch. Cutter's eyes narrowed. "You deaf, Angel?" I said. Ronan cut him off, voice low and sharp. "She's not going anywhere." The crowd behind the diner windows stiffened. Even the summer air felt like it held its breath. Cutter spread his arms, amused. "You planning to fight all of us, in broad daylight?" Ronan finally turned his head just enough for Mira to see his eyes, steady, unshaken, anchored like stone. "Yes." A wave of murmurs rippled through the wolves. Cutter barked a laugh. "This ain't your fight. She ain't your girl. Why die for her?" Ronan didn't answer immediately. He took a slow breath, the sunlight outlining his silhouette like a warning. Then he said, "Because men who hit women don't deserve the chance to hit anyone else." Travis flushed red. "You're dead." Ronan ignored him. He stepped forward, placing himself fully between Mira and the incoming pack. "No one touches her," he said. The wolves revved their engines in unison, a wall of sound. Cutter pointed forward. "Get him, and get the phone." Mira clutched her phone to her chest, pulse thundering. Ronan clenched his fists. The wolves surged, and the parking lot exploded into chaos. The daylight standoff, engines roared like a stampede. The wolves surged forward, sunlight glittering off handlebars and chrome as more bikes swung around the corner, flooding the diner's parking lot with a tide of black leather and snarling tattoos. Ronan Creed didn't step back. He didn't blink. He simply widened his stance, squaring his shoulders as if anchoring himself into the concrete. Behind him, Mira clutched her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. Holly stood beside her, trembling but defiant. "Ronan," Holly whispered, That's 20 of them." 21, Ronan corrected calmly. He never took his eyes off the wolves. Cutter Briggs strutted to the front of the pack, flanked by 2 lieutenants. Knox Ward and Jet Fallon, men almost as mean as their leader. Their boots thudded heavily against the pavement as they formed a loose semicircle around Ronan. "You sure you want to do this?" Cutter taunted. "One man against all of us?" Ronan rolled his neck, the joints cracking audibly in the summer air. "I've had worse odds." Travis stepped forward, hiding behind Cutter's shoulder. "Don't let him walk away. He broke my arm. You did that to yourself," Ronan said without looking at him. Cutter jerked his chin at Knox. "Get the phone from the girl. I don't care what you have to do." Mira's breath hitched. Holly grabbed her arm. But Ronan lifted a single hand, stopping Knox in his tracks. "You take one more step toward her," Ronan warned, "and you won't take another." A few wolves chuckled, expecting bravado, but the dead seriousness in Ronan's voice made several others shift uncomfortably. Cutter smirked. "You really sticking your neck out for this girl? You don't even know her." Ronan inhaled slowly. "That's where you're wrong." Mira looked up, startled. Ronan continued, voice steady. "I don't need to know her to know she didn't deserve what he did to her." He nodded toward Travis. "And I don't need to know her to not hand her over to animals." Knox lunged anyway. Ronan moved like a switch being flipped, fast, precise, deadly. He sidestepped, caught Knox's momentum, and slammed him into the hood of a car with a metal clang that echoed across the parking lot. Knox groaned, sliding to the ground. Jet charged immediately afterward, swinging a heavy punch. Ronan ducked. His fist snapped upward. Jet collapsed as if gravity had doubled. The diner crowd gasped. A few people even raised their phones, filming despite the danger. Cutter's smile disappeared. "This guy's a damn problem." Ronan exhaled once, wiping sweat and dust from his brow. The sun beat down harder, baking the air between them. Then Mira's phone buzzed. Every head turned. A message notification flashed across the cracked screen. "Buyer en route. 12 drop confirmed." Holly whispered, horrified. "They're still making the deal." Cutter's eyes widened. Just a fraction. But it was enough. Ronan saw it, and everything clicked. This wasn't just about Mira. This wasn't about pride or disrespect. This was about a weapons sale happening right now, in broad daylight. And Mira's phone held the only evidence tying the wolves to it. Ronan clenched his fists. The wolves tensed. The next move would ignite everything. The drop at noon. The notification on Mira's phone changed everything. Ronan saw Cutter's pupils shrink, a flicker of fear slicing through the swagger. The wolves weren't here just to punish a witness. They were protecting a weapons sale happening right now, somewhere close. And if Mira's evidence got out, It wouldn't just be the wolves in trouble. It would bring federal agents, task forces, and a tidal wave of consequences none of them were ready to face. Ronan lowered his voice. "You're desperate," he said. "That's why you came in daylight." Cutter didn't deny it. He couldn't. Instead, he jerked his chin at the pack. "Get the phone." Half a dozen wolves broke formation, rushing forward. Ronan grabbed Mira by the arm, firm, protective. Inside. Now. Holly dragged Mira toward the diner entrance as Ronan pivoted and planted himself in front of the doorway, becoming a human barricade. The wolves were fast. Ronan was faster. Two charged at once. Ronan slammed one into the doorframe, knocking him unconscious instantly, then spun and kicked the second in the sternum. The man skidded backward across the pavement, landing in a heap. Cutter roared, "Don't let him block the door!" Knox, still groaning from hitting the car hood earlier, forced himself up and lunged at Ronan with a broken bottle. Sunlight glinted across the jagged glass. Ronan caught Knox's wrist mid-swing, squeezed. Knox dropped the bottle, howling. Ronan twisted his arm until Knox hit the ground again, but more wolves pushed forward. Dust swirled under the pounding boots. Engines revved behind them. The air grew thick with heat, sweat, and the metallic tang of something dangerous about to unfold. Ronan couldn't hold this doorway forever. Inside the diner, Beatrice, the owner, a tough woman in her 50s, ducked behind the counter and grabbed the baseball bat she kept for emergencies. She shouted, "Back door's open! Through the kitchen!" Holly pulled Mira toward the back, but Mira hesitated, turning back toward Ronan. "He can't take them all." Ronan heard her, and without looking over his shoulder, he said, "Yes, I can." Then he stepped out from the doorway, into the open, into the sunlight, into the wolves. Cutter's brows shot up. "You got a death wish?" Ronan cracked his knuckles. "No, I have a promise to keep." The wolves lunged. The parking lot exploded again, fists flying, boots slamming into concrete, metal chains whipping through the air. Ronan ducked and countered, driving knees and elbows into ribs and jaws with pinpoint precision. But the wolves were relentless. More bikes rolled in. More boots hit the ground. For the first time, Ronan's breath came harder. Inside the diner, Mira's terror hit a breaking point. "I can't leave him," she cried, trying to push past Holly. Holly grabbed her shoulders, eyes blazing. "Mira, if they get that phone, he fought for nothing." Mira froze. Because it was true. Her phone wasn't just evidence. It was Ronan's leverage. Ronan's reason for standing. Ronan's only chance of turning this into more than a bloodbath. She backed toward the kitchen, tears welling, phone clutched against her chest. Outside, Ronan took a punch to the jaw. Hard. He staggered for half a second. Cutter grinned. "You're slowing down, Angel." Ronan spat blood onto the pavement. "Good. Means I'm warmed up." But the wolves were closing in. More boots, more engines, more shadows stretching across the sunlit ground. And Mira Lane, breath-shaking, heart-racing, burst out the diner's back door with Holly sprinting into the alley. They ran. Ronan fought. And somewhere in Silver Creek, under the same merciless sun, the weapons buyer was already on the move, running with the only proof. Mira sprinted down the narrow alley behind the diner, sunlight beating mercilessly on her back. The asphalt shimmered beneath her shoes, her breath sharp and ragged as she clutched the phone against her chest. Holly ran beside her, panting. Where are we going?" "I don't know," Mira gasped. "We just need to get distance." Behind them, the chaos from the diner spilled outward. Shouts, engines revving, boots stomping. One order echoed above the rest. "Find the girl." Mira flinched at the sound. Holly grabbed her arm, pulling her left into a side street just as two wolves rounded the corner into the alley they just left. "They're splitting up," Holly cried. "They're trying to box us in." Sun glare bounced off car hoods, momentarily blinding them. The street buzzed with midday life, shopkeepers sweeping sidewalks, cars rolling by, townsfolk going about their day with no idea a biker gang manhunt was unfolding around them. Mira felt sick. She didn't want to drag innocent people into this. "We need somewhere quiet," she said, "out of sight." "The library," Holly suggested instinctively. "No, too many windows." Holly snapped her fingers. "Sheriff's station." Mira skidded to a stop, eyes wide. They're working with the Wolves. Cutter said they had the buyer cleared. He must have meant the sheriff's office. Someone let that shipment through. Holly paled. So, we're on our own? Mira's throat tightened. Yes. A motorcycle screeched onto the street behind them. Mira grabbed Holly's wrist. Run! They darted between parked cars as the wolf accelerated, shouting into a radio. Mira cut sharply across the road, dodging a honking pickup truck, and leapt into another alley. Holly followed, barely clearing the bumper. Watch it! Someone yelled. No time. No room for mistakes. They burst out the alley into a quiet residential street lined with old porches and fluttering American flags. For a split second, Mira's lungs filled with the smell of fresh-cut grass and barbecue. Normal life. A life she wasn't sure she'd ever return to after today. Holly slowed. Mira, I can't. Give me a second. We don't have a second, Mira said, grabbing her shoulders. If they take the phone, Ronan is fighting for nothing. Holly nodded, determination snapping back into her expression. But then, a black SUV turned onto the street, crawling toward them. Mira froze. Not a motorcycle, not a patrol car, something worse. The window rolled down. Travis Morrow leaned out, wrist splinted, eyes burning with humiliation and rage. Well, he sneered. Thought you could run forever? Holly stepped in front of Mira, shaking. Get away from her, Travis. Travis laughed like he'd been waiting for that line. You two really don't get it. This whole town is ours today. The rear doors of the SUV opened. 2 wolves stepped out, cracking their knuckles. Mira clutched the phone tighter. Travis pointed at her. That's the girl who messed everything up. Bring her. The wolves advanced. Holly grabbed a discarded brick from a garden edge, hands trembling. Mira, run. I'll stall. No, Mira whispered, horrified. Go, Holly shouted, but before either could move, a second engine roared from somewhere behind the SUV, low, deep, familiar. Mira whipped her head around. A single motorcycle tore toward them from the opposite end of the street, and the rider was a silhouette she'd know anywhere. Ronan Creed, coming for them. The enforcer arrives. Ronan's motorcycle shot down the residential street like a thrown spear, the afternoon sun flashing off the chrome as the engine roared with a fury that made every porch flag tremble in its wake. Travis spun around, eyes widening. No. How the hell did he? Ronan didn't give him time to finish. He leaned the bike low, so low the foot peg scraped sparks off the pavement, before straightening with explosive force, gunning the throttle and aiming straight for the wolves blocking Mira's path. Move! Travis screamed at his men. Too late. The first wolf jumped aside, rolling over someone's front lawn as Ronan's bike tore past. The second wasn't fast enough. Ronan clipped him with his shoulder, sending him spinning across the pavement like a rag doll. Brakes screeched. Ronan slid the bike sideways in a perfect controlled drift, gravel spitting, until the machine stopped between Mira and the wolves, forming a shield of metal and fury. Dust settled. Silence. Brief, sharp, electric. Then Ronan swung his leg off the bike. He walked toward them with a limp from the earlier fight. But his presence was still heavy enough to bend the air. Mira, Ronan said without looking back, you okay? She nodded shakily. I think so. Holly, clutching the brick, muttered, You got here fast. Ronan cracked his knuckles. I don't like loose ends. Travis staggered backward until his spine hit the SUV door. You're insane. You're outnumbered. Ronan took one slow step forward, eyes locked on him. I've noticed. The 2 remaining wolves from the SUV charged. Ronan grabbed the first by his vest, yanked him forward and slammed his forehead into the man's nose, hard. Blood sprayed. The biker collapsed instantly. The second tackled Ronan, driving him backward into the side of a parked car. The metal dented under the impact. Ronan grunted, grabbed the man's elbow, twisted, and flipped him over the hood in one fluid motion. The wolf slid down the windshield, groaning. Travis watched, horrified. This isn't possible, he stammered. You're just one guy. Ronan wiped blood from his lip. You keep saying that, he replied, and it keeps being wrong. Travis panicked, diving into the SUV. The engine sputtered to life. "He's trying to run," Holly shouted. "No," Mira whispered. "He's trying to run me down." The SUV surged forward, straight at her. Mira froze. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, but Ronan could. He sprinted, limp and all, threw himself sideways and tackled Mira out of the SUV's path. They hit the grass hard, rolling together until Ronan pinned her under him, shielding her body with his own. The SUV screeched past, missing them by inches. Travis cursed, trying to swing the vehicle around. Ronan stood up slowly, eyes flashing with a lethal calm. "Stay here," he told Mira. "Don't drop that phone." He stepped into the street again, sunlight blazing behind him, casting him in a silhouette of fury. Travis reversed, tires smoking, trying to line up another hit. Ronan didn't move. He waited. The SUV roared. Holly screamed. Mira gasped. And Ronan timed it perfectly. He sidestepped the SUV at the last possible second, grabbed the driver's door handle as it sped by, ripped it open, and yanked Travis out onto the pavement in a violent arc. Travis hit the asphalt, sliding several feet before coming to a stop, whimpering. Ronan walked toward him. Travis crawled backward desperately. Hands scraped raw. Don't! Please, don't!" Ronan stopped inches from him. "You chased her," he said quietly. "You hunted her." He crouched down until their faces were level. "You don't get to do that." Travis's eyes overflowed with tears. "Ronan, please, Cutter will kill me if—" Ronan grabbed the front of his shirt. "You should have thought of that before you put your hands on her, and with the entire street watching." Ronan Creed knocked him out cold with one punch. The pack regroups. Travis lay unconscious on the pavement, his cheek pressed to the hot asphalt. The street had gone eerily quiet. No more screaming engines, no thundering boots, no shouted orders, just the soft hum of distant traffic and the rustle of wind through the maple trees lining the neighborhood. Mira exhaled, shakily, still sitting in the grass where Ronan had tackled her to safety. Her hands trembled around the phone. Holly leaned close. "You okay?" "Mira, talk to me." "I'm fine," Mira breathed. But her eyes stayed locked on Ronan. He stood over Travis's limp body for a moment, chest rising and falling, a thin line of blood trailing from the corner of his lip. The sunlight caught on his jacket, outlining the Hell's Angels patch like a warning flare. Then Ronan turned his head sharply. He wasn't relaxed, not even close. Mira felt the shift too, a prickling in the air, a wrongness crawling up the back of her neck. "Ronan," she whispered. He scanned the rooftops, the corners, the shadows behind parked cars, the tree line. "They're regrouping," Ronan muttered. Holly stiffened. "But you just beat half of them." Ronan shook his head once. "That wasn't half. That was the front." Mira swallowed. How many more are there?" Ronan didn't answer, which said enough. He walked toward them, boots crunching gravel. "Mira, we need to move. Now." Before Mira could respond, the low rumble of engines returned. Not 3 bikes, not 5, dozens. They surged into the neighborhood like a flood of metal and leather, sunlight flashing off handlebars, forming a predatory crescent at the end of the street, a full formation, the real wolves. Cutter Briggs led them, riding up front on a blacked-out Harley with wolf fangs carved into the handlebars. His expression was a blend of bitterness, fury, and something else, fear. He saw Travis unconscious on the pavement. He saw Ronan standing between him and Mira, and he understood instantly that this was no longer a clean-up job. This was an open war. Cutter cut the engine. One by one, the wolves followed. Engines died, leaving only the click of kickstands and the heavy heat of high noon. He stepped off the bike, eyes locked on Ronan. "You," Cutter growled, "have caused us more trouble in 1 hour than the sheriff has in 5 years." Ronan wiped his knuckles. "Sounds like a you problem." A ripple of angry murmurs passed through the pack. Cutter raised a hand. Silence fell. Then he pointed straight at Mira. "Bring me the phone." Mira's pulse roared in her ears. Ronan stepped half a pace in front of her. Cutter sneered. "Angel Boy thinks he's a hero." Ronan's jaw tightened. "No, I'm just the guy standing between you and a very, very stupid mistake. You can't fight all of us, Cutter snarled. Ronan didn't blink. Watch me. Cutter cracked his neck. Enough of this. He spread his arms wide. Wolves, boots scraped, chains rattled. The formation tensed. Take them. The wolves lurched forward, and the neighborhood erupted. The neighborhood war. The wolves charged like a collapsing wall, boots pounding, chains whipping, the midday sun flashing off rings, studs, and steel. The peaceful suburban street transformed into a battlefield in seconds. Ronan didn't wait. He surged forward to meet the pack head-on. The first wolf swung a crowbar. Ronan ducked, grabbed the man's vest and slammed him into a mailbox so hard it snapped off its post. Letters scattered through the air like confetti. A second wolf grabbed Ronan from behind in a chokehold. Ronan shifted his weight, threw him forward, and drove the man into the hood of a minivan hard enough to trigger the alarm. The horn blared non-stop, echoing down the street like a siren. Mira flinched at the sound, holding the phone to her chest like a lifeline. Holly crouched beside her, shielding her with her body. "Mira, stay down, don't let anyone see you," Holly exclaimed, but Mira couldn't look away from Ronan. He was outnumbered 10-1. Yet he fought like each movement had been pre-planned, practiced in 100 dirty alleyways and war zones he never talked about. A wolf rushed from the right. Ronan shoved him back with a heavy boot. Another swung a chain. Ronan caught it mid-swing, yanked the man forward, and drove a knee straight into his ribs. The biker folded, wheezing. Still, they kept coming. Two wolves tackled Ronan simultaneously, dragging him toward the pavement. He landed on one knee, grunting. Cutter shouted from behind his men, voice booming, "Hold him down!" 3 more wolves piled on. Ronan braced both hands against the pavement and pushed himself up with a roar, throwing bodies off like they weighed nothing. Dust exploded around him, but Cutter had been waiting for that moment. He stepped forward with brass knuckles gleaming in the sun. "Creed!" Ronan turned. Crack! Cutter's punch smashed into the side of Ronan's jaw. Pain flashed across Ronan's face. He staggered. Mira gasped, covering her mouth. Another punch, then another. Cutter hammered him like a man possessed, brass knuckles cracking bone and splitting skin. Ronan fell to one knee, breath ragged. Cutter grabbed him by the collar. "You protect her because you think you're a hero." Ronan's lip bled. His vision blurred. Still, he glared up, unbroken. Cutter lifted his fist for a final blow, aimed to knock him out cold. "No!" Mira screamed. She stood, out in the open, phone clutched in both hands. Cutter froze mid-swing. The wolves paused. Mira lifted the phone higher, breathing hard. "I recorded everything." A ripple went through the pack. Cutter frowned. "Girl, what are you doing?" Mira's voice trembled, but the words came sharp. "If you don't stop, I'll send this to the state police, the feds, everyone." Holly tugged her arm. "Mira, get back." But Mira stayed rooted in place. For Ronan, for the truth. Cutter lowered his fist slightly. "So that's your play?" "It's the only one I have," she whispered. Cutter tilted his head. Then he smiled. "Break her phone." 4 wolves stepped toward Mira. Ronan's eyes widened with panic, real panic. For the first time, he pushed off the ground violently, blood dripping from his jaw. "Mira, run!" But the wolves were already on her. Holly screamed. Mira spun toward the sidewalk, too slow. As a biker grabbed her wrist, the phone slipped. It fell, it bounced, and the screen shattered across the pavement. Everything went silent. Cutter's smile widened. Ronan's face drained of color, and Mira Lane, the only witness, was dragged backward toward the wolves. The phone may break, but not the truth. For a moment the world seemed to freeze. The shattered phone lay on the pavement, its cracked screen reflecting the harsh afternoon sun. Mira stared at it in disbelief, her breath gone, her heartbeat lost in the ringing silence. 2 wolves pinned her arms, dragging her backward. She kicked, twisted, fought with everything she had, but their grips were iron. Cutter turned toward Ronan with a victorious smirk. "Game over, Angel." Ronan staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his jaw, chest heaving. but his eyes, sharp, burning, never left Mira. "Mira!" he roared, voice tearing through the street. She met his gaze, tearful, terrified, but not broken. Cutter stepped closer to her, raising a hand. "Should have minded your business, girl." Mira shut her eyes, and Ronan moved. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He launched forward with a burst of raw force that no injuries, no exhaustion, no numbers could contain. He slammed into the first wolf, holding Mira, ripping him away from her with a snarl of effort. The second swung at Ronan's ribs. Ronan blocked the punch, caught the man's wrist, and twisted until the biker screamed and collapsed to his knees. Cutter cursed. "Take him!" A wave of wolves surged again. Ronan grabbed Mira's arm. "Run, don't look back." "But the phone," she gasped. Ronan leaned in, voice low, fierce, unshakable. "The truth isn't in the phone. It's in your head. Now move." Mira's breath caught. She ran. Holly grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the yards behind the row of houses. They leapt a small fence, stumbling into a stretch of dry grass and garden sheds. Behind them, Ronan barreled into the wolves like a one-man wrecking ball. Fists slammed into jaws, elbows cracked ribs, bodies hit the pavement with bone-rattling thuds, but there were too many, way too many. Cutter stepped back, assessing the chaos with a calculating glare. "Stall him," he barked. "We'll get the girl." Two wolves broke away and sprinted after Mira and Holly, racing between houses. Mira glanced back, just once. Ronan was drowning in bodies, fighting like a man who refused to let a single step be taken toward her. Even as fists hammered him, even as knees crashed into his ribs, he swung back, relentless. Holly tugged her. "Mira, we have to keep going." Mira nodded, breath trembling. But one thought burned through her terror. If Ronan fell, they all fell. The choice that changes everything. Mira and Holly sprinted through backyards, dodging lawn chairs, sprinklers, and faded plastic toys abandoned in the sun. Their breaths tore through their lungs, hearts pounding with the primal instinct to survive. Behind them, boots thundered. Two wolves crashed through a garden fence, splintering wood as they chased. "There!" one shouted. "The girl!" Holly's grip tightened on Mira's hand. "We can't outrun them." But Mira had no intention of stopping. Ronan's words burned in her chest. "The truth is in your head. If they caught her, the wolves would get more than a shattered phone. They'd silence the last witness, for good." Mira's gaze darted to a narrow side alley between two houses. "Here!" she gasped. "Cut through!" They slid into the alley, squeezing past trash bins and garden tools. The sun overhead cast long, sharp shadows, making the path feel even tighter. But the wolves were close, too close. One reached out, fingertips grazing Mira's shirt. Suddenly, Holly spun, swinging a metal rake she'd snatched off a fence post. Clang! The rake cracked across the biker's knuckles. He screamed, staggering back. "Holly, go!" Mira begged. "You go!" Holly yelled, breath shuddering. "I can slow them." "No!" But Holly shoved her. "Ronan Ice bleeding for you. Run!" Tears spilled down Mira's cheeks as she turned and bolted, leaving Holly swinging the rake with wild determination. Mira burst out of the alley into an empty baseball field behind the local school. The sun glared off the bleachers, the sand under her shoes kicking up in bursts. Across the field, a chain-link gate. Freedom. She sprinted toward it. A hand clamped around her ankle. Mira fell hard, sand scraping her palms. She twisted, kicking wildly. One of the wolves had caught up, his sunglasses knocked askew, face red with effort. "You're done, girl," he snarled. "Cutter wants you alive, but I don't mind rough." A shadow dropped behind him. Fast, silent, heavy. Ronan. He hooked his arm around the biker's neck, yanking him backward in a brutal chokehold. The man's eyes bulged, hands clawing at Ronan's arm until his struggles went limp. Ronan released him, letting the body hit the dirt. He swayed for a second, bloody, bruised, barely standing, but his eyes were locked on Mira. "You okay?" he breathed. Mira threw her arms around him, sobbing into his chest. "I'm sorry. Your face. You shouldn't have come." Ronan rested a trembling hand on her back. "I said I wouldn't die today," he murmured. "And I don't break promises." Before Mira could respond, a motorcycle engine revved. Cutter Briggs rolled up to the edge of the field, alone, visor down. He lifted a shotgun, step away from the girl, Creed. Ronan tightened his hold on Mira and turned to face the monster coming for them. The day justice erupted. The afternoon sun blazed mercilessly over the empty baseball field, bleaching the sand into a harsh gold and throwing long shadows from the bleachers. The field felt too open, too exposed. No walls, no cover, no allies, just Ronan Creed, Mira Lane, and Cutter Briggs on a roaring Harley, shotgun leveled at them. Ronan pushed Mira gently behind him, planting his boots into the dirt. His chest rose and fell in painful, uneven breaths. Every bruise, every cut, every impact from the wolves was written across his body, but his stance never wavered. Cutter revved the engine once, the sound echoing like a threat. "You should have walked away, Creed," he growled, "but you just had to play hero." Ronan wiped blood from his brow with the back of his hand. "Put the gun down, Briggs." Cutter laughed, a harsh barking sound. "You don't give orders here." "Not now." He cocked the shotgun. Mira felt her heart plummet. But Ronan didn't flinch. "You fire that thing," Ronan said. "You'll hit her too." Cutter shrugged. "A little collateral damage never scared me." Mira's breath hitched. Ronan stepped forward, arms slightly outstretched. "You don't scare me either." Cutter's eyes narrowed, and he fired. Boom! The blast shattered the summer air. Ronan tackled Mira behind the dugout's low concrete wall just as buckshot ripped through the chain-link fence where they'd been standing. Sand exploded into the air. Wooden beams splintered. Mira covered her head, trembling. Ronan's voice was hoarse but steady. "Stay down, don't move!" Cutter's motorcycle engine roared as he circled the field, searching for a new angle. "You can't hide behind that dugout forever, Creed. Come out!" Ronan scanned the ground. No weapons, no tools, nothing he could use except... He spotted it, near the edge of the dugout, half buried in sand, a metal baseball bat. He grabbed it. Mira's eyes widened. "You're not going out there, Ron. Ron, he has a gun." Ronan flashed her a faint, exhausted smile. "Yeah," he said, "but I've got better aim." He pushed up slowly, wincing. Cutter reloaded with a clack that echoed. Ronan's jaw tightened. He sprinted out from cover. Cutter fired again. Ronan dropped into a slide across the dirt, the blast of buckshot tearing up the sand inches over his head. He rolled, came up to his knees and hurled the baseball bat like a spear. It spun through the air, slammed into Cutter's wrist. He screamed, the shotgun flying out of his hand as he lost balance. The bike fishtailed, skidding wildly before crashing onto its side in a spray of dust and metal. Cutter tumbled across the dirt, groaning. Ronan staggered to his feet and limped toward him. Mira followed behind, shaking but determined. Cutter crawled toward the fallen shotgun. Ronan kicked it away. Cutter snarled, grabbing a fistful of sand and throwing it in Ronan's face. Ronan instinctively shielded his eyes, and Cutter lunged, tackling him to the ground. Both men rolled across the hot sand. Ronan punched him, once, twice, but Cutter was fueled by rage and desperation. He rammed his knee into Ronan's ribs, knocking the air from his lungs. "You think you're some kind of savior?" Cutter spat, pressing his forearm against Ronan's throat. "You're nothing," Ronan choked, vision fading around the edges. But through the haze he saw Mira, hands shaking, terrified, watching helplessly. He wasn't losing, not when she was counting on him. Ronan grabbed Cutter's wrist, twisted sharply. Cutter screamed. Ronan rolled them over and slammed Cutter's back into the dirt. Then he grabbed Cutter's vest, yanked him upward, and unleashed a punch that sent blood spraying across the golden sand. Cutter collapsed, but he wasn't done. He reached behind his boot, a knife. Sunlight flashed across the blade. Mira gasped. "Ronan!" Cutter lunged. Ronan caught his arm mid-strike, but his strength faltered for the first time. The blade inched closer, closer. Cutter grinned savagely. "Not so tough now, Angel." Mira didn't think. She grabbed the broken baseball bat handle lying nearby, and she swung. The wood cracked against Cutter's wrist. He howled, dropping the knife. Ronan seized the opening. One final punch, brutal, unstoppable, drove Cutter into unconsciousness. Silence slammed over the field. Ronan knelt there, trembling, chest heaving, fists still clenched. Mira dropped the bat and ran to him. He didn't collapse. He leaned into her, forehead resting against her shoulder. "You okay?" he murmured. "I should be asking you that," she whispered, tears streaking her dust-covered face. Ronan exhaled shakily. Around them, distant sirens began to rise. Neighbors had finally called for help. A wave of police cars turned onto the street leading toward the field. But Mira knew the truth. The police weren't the ones who saved her. Ronan Creed was. He pushed himself to his feet as officers sprinted across the field, guns drawn, shouting commands. Ronan raised his hands calmly. Mira grabbed his arm. "He protected me. He protected all of us." Sheriff Alder Quinn approached, wary, sweating. "Creed, what the hell happened here?" Ronan looked across the field, at the unconscious wolves, the broken weapons, the scattered bike parts, and the man he had just taken down. Then he said quietly, "Justice." Mira slipped her hand into his, and it erupted today. In the end, the truth didn't survive because of a phone. It survived because one man refused to walk away, and one woman refused to stay silent. On a sun-bleached field, justice erupted, not from power but from courage. And it reminds us that heroes aren't born from darkness. They rise in broad daylight when someone needs them most. If this story moved you, if you believe in standing up for what's right, hit subscribe to Heart Tales, turn on the notification bell, and tell us in the comments, what moment hit you the hardest? Your voice keeps these stories alive. Stay with us. Another powerful story is waiting on the end screen.